Good morning, Wiser Nation. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Welcome once again to another edition of Wiser Specials, where we share our thoughts on the book written by Stephen Covey, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. So last month in February, we dealt about the introduction to the book where Deborah gave us our own idea on the introduction to the book. And today we are going to delve right into chapter one. And your speakers for this morning are my humble self, Nancy Ide, and MC Love Diamond.
Good morning, Wiser. I'm so
Good
excited to be here. Good morning, Nancy. Thank you so
morning to
much.
you. How
I'm super
excited are you
excited
on
to
a
be
scale of 1
here.
to
Oh,
10?
I'll say 10. If it's more than 10, then that's how
10.
excited I am.
100 over
This is,
10.
yes,
So
10
we're so
over 10.
excited, Wiser Nation, to see you. You can leave your greetings in the chat, say hi to your people. It's been a month since we all gathered together. So,
Yeah.
MC Love, would you like to give a brief introduction of yourself and what we are to expect from you today?
Okay. MC Love Diamond. Okay. As the name goes, I am a budding master of ceremonies, and I'm also a dancer. Actually, I've been a dancer for the past 8 years. I teach ballet to kids and young adults, and also have experience in costuming, dance costuming, basically. And moving into this field of speaking is really exciting for me because I know that greater things are yet to come. Having the privilege of being here, let me use this opportunity to say thank you to our amazing coach, Joyce Daniels, for this growth opportunity. I see it as a growth opportunity because it has challenged me to become better, to become more, to push myself because I know that I have the ability to be the best version of myself every single time. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm super excited. Wiser, get ready. Let's dive in.
Woo! You're super pumped like you are. Thank you very much, Mr. Love. That's amazing. For me,
Thank
I'd
you.
say I've always been a learner. I love to learn and I love to get new knowledge, acquire new skills. Whatever it is that you're teaching, so long as it is within my purview, it is within my goals, I like to always buy in. And I
Hmm.
remember when I was in school, when we were rounding up the university, I always was, I was anxious because I needed guidance. I was like, so what next? Me and my friends, what are we going to do? How are we going to navigate this world? What is this? What is that? There was that fear of what to do, who to guide you, because everybody expects you to already know what to do. I mean, you have gone to the university, spent 4 years, some people 5 years in school. You should know the
Hmm.
direction of your life, right? So that was a
Yeah.
challenge for me. So any opportunity I get to receive guidance, I always embrace. So studying this book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People, for someone like me who loves to learn and who needs guidance, you can see it's a win-win for me. So
Hmm.
that is why I'm super excited. I'm super pumped. I can't wait for all of the things that is to come. Thank you very much, everyone. We want to see in the chat how excited you are. You can say hi to your friends. You can say hi to me. You can say hi to MC Love. We are here and let's delve right in. So thank you very much. MC Love, can you just give a brief overview of what we are to expect from this book, The Seven Habits of Highly
Hmm.
Chapter 1?
Okay. In a nutshell, I'll say chapter one is like a bomb, literally. Like it's going to explode your mind. You know that feeling when you feel like all these years somebody else has been responsible for where you've been, and then coming to the realization is just like your eye clear, like say they comot sansan for your eye just clear, say where I am now is because I chose to be there and remain there. and I also have the ability to choose not to be there. It's super empowering. I just feel this chapter one, especially starting with the principle of personal vision, it's amazing. I would like to start off with this particular quote by Henry David. If I'm looking down, know that I'm reading from my book, okay? So he said, I know of no more encouraging fact than the unquestionable ability of man to elevate his life by conscious endeavor. That's so powerful. Like, by simply taking steps in the right direction, you can move from level one to any level in life that you desire. It's super empowering, and it just goes a long way to express the fact that if you want to go higher, you have to take that decision. You have to take those steps. And yes, it may be difficult. Yes, you may find it challenging at first, but give yourself grace. You get there. Just ensure that you stay focused and you keep taking tiny steps one day at a time. Thank you, Nancy.
Exactly, for me, the same exact thought. So when I was studying chapter one, I told myself, I'm going to come like a clean slate. In fact, they encourage you, if you read the book, they encourage you, take yourself out. You remember when they said, take yourself
Mm-hmm.
out from yourself and stand
Mm-hmm.
aside and watch
Yeah.
yourself do this. You see,
Yes.
coming in with a
Yes.
clean slate. I'm also encouraging everyone here on the call today, all Wiserians, Wiser Nation, come in with a clean slate, because chapter one sets the stage for the rest chapter, and it is going to blow your mind. MC Love
Yes.
was talking about the principle of personal vision.
Yes.
When I read it, what struck me, what came out was self awareness. And the way Stephen Covey described it was, we have the ability to be self aware because we are not animals. And if
Mm-mm.
the reverse is the case, if we are not self aware, that means we are like animals. For us to even say, oh, I'm self aware, for us to say, oh, my name is Nancy, my name is MC Love, I'm a body master of ceremonies, that means that we already have the ability of self awareness. So you see, that is the first thing to, because the first habit talks about being proactive. And for you to be proactive, you have to first of all be self-aware. You have to know
Yes.
yourself, know what you are
Yes.
about, and know what is expected of you. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the first thing that we have learned. Open your mind, because this is going to be a sweet and smooth ride. And MC Love, you know the second thing that we read, right? The second, the social mirror.
Social
I mean, reading the social
mirror.
mirror was like, whoa, what? It says, and I'm going to read because I took down notes. I don't want to forget any point. It says, how we see ourselves and the
Else,
way we
yes.
see ourselves. And Stevie Covey gave three ways that people see or people use social mirror. He talked about genetic dynamics, determinism.
Yeah.
There is that is the what is in your DNA. Like people say, oh, I'm a Benin girl, and this is how Benin people do. I'm Irish, this is how the people from Ireland do, or I'm from the UK, I'm from the US. So it is in your DNA, right? The
Mm-hmm.
next one is psychic childhood, your upbringing, your character. Some people say, oh, when I was growing up, my parents were so strict. That is why I'm so reserved now. I'm so shy, east, west, north, and south. And then environmental determinism, those three paradigms was what Stephen Covey gave. Stephen Covey is saying, oh, your situations, maybe, for example, Nigeria has conditioned you to be the way you are. And then he ended by
Mm.
asking a question that I would like to read out. He said, however, how clearly do these determine the true nature of man? These three paradigms that he has given, how clearly does it determine the true nature of man? Your DNA, your upbringing, or your environment? Is that truly your social mirror? MC Love, what do you think?
So for me, that particular chapter opened me up to a lot of things that have been going on recently. So recently, I've been consciously putting myself in a space where I don't even want to hear certain kinds of negative statements of it's because of how I grew up, or because my grandparents did this, or because my parents didn't do this, or because Nigeria did this. There's something I've always said: there's money in Nigeria. And it was amazing because I was in one of John Obidi's online class, and he made mention of that exact same thing. There's money in Nigeria. All you need to do is ask yourself how you can find yours, collect your share, because it is there. And if you have value to offer, you definitely will get your own share. So, what am I saying? This particular chapter opens us up to say that yes, we may have been conditioned by these genetic determinism, psychic determinism, and environmental determinism, but we have the power to decide not to conform to that norm. We have the power to decide that we can move from where we used to be to where we want to be. So that's my thought, Nancy. And moving on, I would like to talk about the space in between the stimulus and the response. Now, the stimulus talks about things that happen to us and how we respond to them. So, for instance, you grew up in a home where probably there was no much financial balance, and then you give yourself the excuse that simply because my family doesn't have money, I'll choose to go into stealing. That's your choice. Know that you made that choice. It's not because your family came from a poor background, that's why you chose to steal. There are other people. The reason why I said that is because if you check, you would see that there are other people who background who have chosen to do better things to earn a living, do better things to offer value to earn a living rather than stealing. So the fact that you have that freedom of choice, you have to be aware, like Nancy said, be self aware that you have the choice, you have the power, you have the freedom to exercise that right of choice to decide that, okay, this is what I want for my life, this is not what I want for my life. So just know that that power is up to you. If you're in the chat box, I would like you to write, I have the power to choose. You can write it, I have the power to choose. I want to see it in the comment sections now. Write it, I do, I have the power to choose. You can fix your name there. Love has the power to choose. Nancy has the power to choose. It is super empowering to know that. When you know that, it's actually easier for you. Now, when you in considering your choice, ensure that you put into play these four human endowments, as Stephen Covey reiterated in the book. It said your self-awareness, which Nancy spoke on a little bit, that's a and then your imagination, your conscience, and your independent will. You have to be self-aware. You have to use your imagination to move from where you are to where you want to be. And he gave an example in the book about Mr. Viktor Frankl, who was at the death camp in Nazi Germany. And yes, even though he was going through lots and lots of terrible treatment, miserable, that's what the word in the book says, miserable treatment, even though yet he was going through all of that, he decided to place himself in his mental space at a point where he was seeing beyond the prison where he was. He saw beyond that prison. He saw into his future. He saw himself training people. How? Like, if you want to even really imagine it, how can you even be in that kind of state? To the common man, that is, it feels supernatural, but it is not. It is where you can go in your mind. Like our coach Joyce Daniels will say, where your mind goes, your body will follow. Once your mind gets there, you will get there. I am a living testimony of that. If somebody has told me some, let's say, January in 2023 that I will be live on WISER today, I would have said, no. But much, much later, as things began to unfold, I began to see myself. I began to see myself there. I began to see myself doing more. I began to see myself doing better. And here we are today. And I'm super grateful. So, yes, know it that in between the situations and the circumstances, we are not saying you should deny that those things are happening to you. Don't deny it. But just know that in between that circumstance and your response to it, you can choose. You can choose to say, if somebody comes to you and step on your toes, you can decide to fight with the person, or you can choose to walk away. And if you choose to walk away, nobody will quarrel. There will be no quarrel. Only a mad person quarrels with himself, right? So there won't be any quarrel. For husbands and for wives, couples out there, the same thing. If you're having issues here and there, you try. Okay, let's say your wife comes up and say, I'm not giving you food today, and you said, okay, no problem, and you go, who is she going to fight with? But you say, how dare you? You must give me food today. The quarrel will start. That's where the quarrel starts from. So we have to know that yes, we have the freedom to choose, but in making our choices, we must put into consideration, first, you be self-aware, next, use your imagination, next, have a conscience. Don't say, because I'm self-aware, because I imagine myself stepping on people's head, so I will just start marching on people's head as I move out today. No, that means you did not put conscience into play while you were taking those decisions. Lastly, you must use your independent will. Know that you have it. It is in there. You choose to use that independent will, just like Mr. Viktor Frankl did. And you can see that from that prison, everything he imagined began to come to pass. In fact, his lifestyle began to influence those around him, even in the prison. So that goes a long way to say that as you begin to act differently, your environment also changes. So when you're doing all of those things that you need to do, choosing right, making the right decisions, and following through with them, you begin to affect the environment around you. First, it affects you. That's why Stephen Covey calls it a private victory. And then it begins to affect the environment around you. Thank you, Nancy. Over to you.
Thank you very much, MC Love. I mean, you have been able to fully dissect what that third part talked about, the distance between stimulus and response. And for me, that was very striking because it answered the first question that we had asked in the determinism in the social mirror, that
Yes.
are we really what these theory determinism say we are? That is when they now tell us that, when Stephen Covey told us that we have the power to choose. And if you at Wiser, when Coach Ottman gave his own, when he was Wiser head during his time, he said that our power lies between the distance in between the our power lies in the distance between stimulus and response. That is where your power lies. So when someone does something to you, that in between before you react is where your power lies. So you decide to choose. And then the story of Viktor Frankl, like you said, that was given by Stephen Covey was even more, it was so, because as I was reading, I was like, wow, amazing. And like you have already dissected here, that is where we have the power to choose. Viktor Frankl was going through so much pain. He could have decided to remain there. I mean, it would have been justified if he remained there and said, oh, there is no hope for me. I can't see beyond this. My wife is dead. My kids are dead. People around me are dying. These people are merciless. So I'm gone. I'm dead too. I'm just waiting on the day that, it's my turn. But instead, he decided to say, I am self aware. I am Viktor Frankl and I am free, even in my chains. So that is a big message to us as individuals. We too, we can be free even when physically we think that we are in bondage. So it depends on our own choosing, our own choice. What have you decided your life? What is the direction that you have decided your life to follow? It depends on you and your choice. And that brings us to proactivity, the next point that was raised by Stephen Covey when he talked about proactivity defined. Here, Stephen Covey said our behavior is a function of our decisions, and our decisions are based off on our values. So our values determine our choices. Function of our decisions rather than our feelings. So for me, I've been going through a lot of things has been happening, when me I've been facing personal challenges, I've been going through some hard times recently, and I've decided that instead of me to become, limited by these situations, instead of me to become, desolate and fall on by these situations, I'm going to rise above that, because my decisions is a function of my values. What are my values? What are the things I want out of life? What are the things that guide me in life? Is it the decisions of others? Is it the feelings of others? Or is it a personal conviction from within me? Our decisions are largely based on our values, not on our feelings. Our feelings are conditional. For example, I can say, oh, this person has done this to me. Because of that, I'm going to be like this. No, that is not being proactive. That does not show me as a proactive person. And then Stephen Covey gave us beautiful example when he said, Eleanor Roosevelt said, no one can hurt you without your consent. I'm saying it today and I want you to say it with me, Nancy. No one can hurt me without my consent. So say it also, personalize it in the chat. No one can hurt you, Joyce. No one can hurt you, Hope, without your consent. No one can hurt me without my consent. And even Gandhi said it. They cannot take away our self-respect if we do not give it to them. So this habit one is talking about being proactive, not just being proactive in the things that you say, but being proactive in the things that you do. So, for example, you might face limitations of life, you might face challenges of life, which always abound, because that is the essence of growth. Limitations and challenges, they all push you up to your next level. They push you up. It shows that you are growing, that you are not stagnant. These situations will arise. How do you respond to them? Do you become reactive and remain in that limitation? Or do you choose to be proactive and allow your decisions to influence your actions? Because your decisions are based on your values. Now, okay, for example, we have decided to say, oh, my decisions are based off on my values, so I'm going to, what are then your values? The next question is, what are your values? What propels you in life? Why do you do the things that you do? What drives you? What motivates you? When you sleep and you wake up in the morning, what motivates you? What are your values? So you see, you have to also crystallize that part. We have the values elicitation that we did last 2 years after the end of WISER. You can go back and watch that video that talks about how to organize your values from the most important to the least important. So, what are your values? If you are able to know those things that propel you in life, you will be able to make decisions along those lines. So, you will not become reactive. You will not become someone people will look at you and say, this girl is strong. This girl is smart. This girl is dogged. She has been beaten before. She has failed before. But you have to have values that propel you in life. So you have to have values that propel you in life. I don't know if you have something to say as regards this also.
Proactivity defined. I think you said all there is. You're responsible for your own life. In a nutshell, that's what it's saying. You are responsible for your life. And that moves us to the next point, which is taking initiative. And basically, it just means you see a problem, ask yourself, how can the problem be solved? What do I need to do? Like our coach Joyce Daniels will always say, ask yourself the five W's and one H question. What can I do? Who do I need to meet to find the solution for this? Where do I need to go to? How do I go about this? So once you ask those questions, you take action. I believe that's taking initiative. And in your taking initiative, you also have to put into consideration other people around you. So just because you're trying to take initiative, the motive should not be that, okay, I'm trying to be like the top performer in my organization, so I need to put every other person down. No, that's not the idea. You are taking initiative, but also you are conscious of the fact that you are working in a team. So you have to work together to build to get to where you need to be. So, Nancy, if you have any more light to share on that, you can go ahead and do so. Nancy, can she hear me? Okay. I think it might be network. Okay, I'm going to move forward while we wait for her to come back in. All right, so listening to our language, I'm going to move to that. And Stephen Covey made us understand that there is a language for proactive people and there is a language for reactive people. So I need you to understand that you need to track your language to know which of them you're speaking. So for the proactive people, we have languages like I choose to, I choose. Now, what that does is it empowers you. I choose, it's your decision. I prefer, I will, I control my own feelings. Those words are quite empowering because they give you that sense of responsibility. So when you make that decision, if it goes well, you're proud. If it goes wrong, you take full responsibility, make corrections, and you move on. That's what happens. So you have to track your language. Whereas for the reactive people, they use words like I can't, I must, I have to, if only. So you hear people saying, if only I was born in a wealthy home, I would have been driving my first car at the age of 18. How about you start working to get that car? Even if you don't get it at 18, you can get it at 30 and it's okay, but start working. Don't keep stay in that pit and keep wishing if only I grew up in a home where there was love, I would know how to love my spouse better. Don't say that. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do it. Take responsibility. What do I need to learn? How do I bring myself to understand my spouse's love language so that I'll be able to deliver? How can I learn how to do better at my job? Ask questions if you have to. Ask your boss. Ask your direct senior. Ask your fellow colleagues. You come into a company for the first time, you see things are running and all of that. You have no idea where you should focus your energy. Go ahead and ask. Ask that question and take that action. So be careful with the language you use. You wake up in the morning and you tell yourself something like, it's Monday again. Guess what? You already used your words to reduce and drain your energy. So no matter what it is you want to do that day, you're already starting from a place of being tired and exhausted. So you're not giving your 100. But guess what? When you wake up in the morning and tell yourself, I choose to go to work today. I choose to be productive today. I choose to love my spouse better today. I choose to be the best whatever office you're in. Tell yourself, I choose to be the best. I choose to be the best at what I do. I choose to be the best student. And I can and I will. It's empowering. But when you say I can't, you say I must, I have to. Guess what? You're making it. You're draining yourself of that power. You're draining yourself of that power. You're limiting yourself. You're limiting your level of productivity. So please, let's watch out our languages. I believe there's a space in the book where it talks about the productivity test. Yeah, Nancy, we have somewhere like that in front. So let me not go over ahead above myself. So let's go. Hi, Nancy.
Thank you very much, MC Love. So you
You
have
were
already
breaking up a
taken.
little.
Yes, my network is breaking. Can you
Mm,
hear me clearly now?
yes, we can.
Can you
I
hear me
can.
now? Okay.
Yes.
So you have already given the best explanation to taking the initiative. So I'm just going to delve into the next part that says act or be acted upon. And
Yes.
it's as the name implies, this next part is as the name implies, act or be acted upon. You don't have to be at the mercy of your environment. Take the initiative, act or be acted upon. In fact, it takes initiative to develop the 7 habits. We are going, this is chapter 1 now. We still have up to more than 5 chapters to go. And this is you have to already understand this part. You have to know that it is either you act or be acted upon before you can even fully understand the other chapters of this book. So you don't have to wait for situations to happen upon you. You take the initiative. And he gave an example of an employee in an office who took the initiative. His boss was always complaining, or the boss had limitations. You know, there are some people with intelligence, people who are very intelligent, they are usually prone to this. You know, they are prone to feeling, or they make you feel small, those types of feelings. You understand what I'm trying to say? So every other person decided to, complain and say, "Oh, this my boss is like this. This man always talks down on us. He doesn't do this. He doesn't." But then someone decided to be proactive and decided to act instead of being acted upon. So that is what talks about. We have to take the initiative. We have to know that as proactive people, we are not waiting for things to happen to us. We are going to happen to things. It is one of the elements of being.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on.
The things that
Okay, she's back.
can you hear me? Love?
Yes, we
Can you
can.
hear
You
me?
went off for a
Apologies,
moment
my
here.
network is breaking terribly.
So sorry about that. Okay, so I will wait for Nancy to come up. I think she basically has shared all there is, act or be acted upon. So the choice is yours. Like I said earlier, you have the ability to choose. Okay? Okay, I think she's
Yes.
back.
So
Okay.
So we're talking about listening to your language, and I was saying that one way to check if you're a proactive person is to listen to the things that you say outwardly and listen to the things that runs through your mind. How do you think when situations are abounding or when things are happening? Do you, for example, recently I had to, reading this chapter one is like they're speaking to me. I don't even know how best to express it
That's the
because
word.
it is the
Yes.
situation, the stage I'm currently at in my life right now, and I'm listening to my language. Am I being proactive? I've received feedback. With this feedback that I've gotten, I've been able to check, and I'm still checking the place. So MC Love from here and talk on the circle of influence and circle of concern. You're muted.
Circle of influence, circle of concern. So many of you already saw the diagram. In one of the diagrams, we had the smaller circle inside and a bigger circle outward. The inner circle, we had the circle of influence, and the bigger circle, we had the circle of concern. Now, that pictures a reactive person. Why is that? You spend so much time, we spend so much time trying to cry about what we have no power to change. For instance, our economy at the moment, we cannot do anything to change it currently, like directly. We have no direct impact over what is happening in our country at the moment. For those of you who are from other countries, we are speaking from Nigeria. So we do not have the power to change what is happening in Nigeria currently. But you know what? We have the power to decide to change what we can in our own circle of influence. We may not be able to change the economy, but we can change our perspective of how we see it. Do you understand that? if you understand that, I want you to type CC in the comment section. I want to be sure that we are carrying you along. So you can type CICC, that's Circle of Influence, Circle of Concern. So if you know you're following, just type CICC in the comment section. I want to see that. Can I see you type that if you know you're following us? Circle of Influence, Circle of Concern. Okay, Hope eBay, thank you. Joyce Lewis, thank you. Thank you. Good. Chinenye Obiku, thank you. Melody Francis, thank you. Michael, thank you. George Rejoice, beautiful. Thank you so much. So we know we are following. So now for your circle of influence, those are the things that you can directly have an impact on. Whereas the circle of concern, sometimes indirectly you may be able to affect it, but most of the time you do not have the power to change it. For instance, you have no power to change that you were born in Nigeria. It's out of your control. So the more you spend time trying to drown yourself in the thought that if only I was born in the US, remember that our language we talked about? If only. That's for reactive people. So make sure you throw that in the trash bin, okay? So we're not using that if only word, okay? Good. So focus more on what can I do in the economy at this point where we are at that can make me live comfortable, at least to the point where I can take care of the things that I need to take care of. Ask yourself those questions. Ask yourself, how can I improve on myself? Jim Rohn says something in many of his videos. He says, work harder on yourself than you do on your job. When I heard that for the first time, I was like, why would he say I should work harder on myself than I do on my job? But guess what? I discovered that when you work harder on yourself, your job will benefit from it. Do you understand? Your job will actually benefit. Why? Because you are becoming a better person. And now you just give up that value because it now comes naturally to you because that is who you have become in the process of your growth and your development. You have now become that person of value, and then the result of that is that your company and every other thing surrounding you begins to benefit from that. So Stephen Covey, all he's trying to say here is make sure you focus on the things that you have control over, which is number one, myself. Type in the comment section, I have control over me. Type it. I want to see it in the comment section. I have control over me. The same thing like saying I have the power to choose. I have control over me. I have control over my response. I have control over my choice of living. I have control over my choice of perception of any situation, any given situation whatsoever. I can choose how to perceive it. I can choose how to respond to it. But when it comes to other things like, okay, I was born in a poor background, you can't change that. That's what happened. Okay, something happened, I lost my job. You can't change that. So work, focus more on the things you can change. Thank you.
Exactly, love. Focusing on your circle of influence, the things that you
Yes.
have control over, as against focusing on the things that you have no control over. And that brings
Mm.
us to the next point that talks about direct, indirect, and no control. Whatever situation that we face in life, best believe that it falls into either any of these categories. It is either it is a direct influence, something that happens to you directly, something that happens to you indirectly, or something that you have no control over. And according to Stephen Covey, he said, in all of these, we can overcome if we choose to be proactive, if we choose to focus on the things that we have control over, focus on the things that we on our circle of influence. And then he gave a perfect example, a perfect quote to summarize it. There's an anonymous quote that says, Lord, give me the courage to change the things which can and ought to be changed, the serenity to accept the things which cannot be changed, and the wisdom to know the difference. So, like MC Love used an analogy or an example when he says, when she said, you lost your job. You have no control over losing your job. But what do you have control over? It is either you choose to become desolate, to become fallen, to start blaming or hating on the person who sacked you, or you choose to focus on your circle of influence. Now I have this time in my hand. What am I going to do with it? Am I going to get new skills, acquire new knowledge? What exactly am I going to do? Focus on the things that you have control over and pray for the difference to know, and pray to God for the grace to know the difference in between. So the next point that Stephen Covey raised was expanding your circle of influence. MC Love, do you have anything to say as regards this? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Okay, expanding the circle of influence. I think it's the same thing we said. Focus on what you have control over. That's all. Focus on that.
Exactly.
And let that circle grow and grow and grow until it takes more space than that of the circle of concern.
Yes, and on this point, Stephen Covey used a perfect example. He gave an example of a proactive staff. Now, the example was that every other person was complaining while the staff was, being proactive and expanding his circle of influence. And now, the one striking thing in this place for me was when Stephen Covey said that people who are proactive, sometimes they are misconstrued to be pushy, aggressive, or insensitive. So when we are talking about being proactive, we're telling you take control of your situation. I have control over me. Nobody can make me feel bad or make me feel less. People can interpret that as that guy is so rude, so arrogant, so pushy. Who does he think he is? Reactive people will make you feel small. They will want you to be on their level. You imagine a situation, for example, everybody is complaining, oh, the dollars, naira, the devaluing of the naira, but you are saying no, this economy is going to be better for me. Or you're affirming that you're imagine Viktor Frankl in the midst of all other prisoners, all of them were being beaten, starved, and everything that was going on with them, but he remained positive in his thoughts. He said that I am self-aware, I am Viktor Frankl, I am a professor, and that is what I will remain and choose to be. Imagine the people around him. They could have said, this man is so full of himself. Even in this state, you are still speaking like this. Do you understand? So people interpret proactive people to be pushy, to be insensitive. Get ready. If you are going to be proactive, if you are going to take the knowledge of this chapter one, get ready to be called pushy, get ready to be called arrogant, get ready to be called insensitive. But know that those are not what really proactivity means. And according to Stephen Covey, he said proactive people aren't pushy. Instead, they are smart, they are value driven, they read reality, and they know what is needed. So focus on that, but also have it at the back of your mind that you might face pushbacks because most people are reactive. People complain, oh, the economy of Nigeria is so bad. That is why I'm poor. That is why I am this. So most people has been conditioned to live within those limitations. So if you are going to rise above that, it is going to be a struggle. Get ready for that. Get ready for that is even the thought of a proactive person, to know that these are the challenges that lie ahead and I am ready for it. So it also brings us to the next part, the haves and the bees. According to Stephen Covey, one way to determine which our circle of influence is in is to distinguish between the haves and the bees. The circle of concern is filled with the haves, while the circle of influence is filled with the bees. It is a character focus. So, for example, you say, oh, I don't have money, that's why I'm hungry. Oh, I don't have a husband, that's why I'm like this. I don't have this, I don't have that, I don't have. You're focusing on your circle of concern, like MC Love said. You don't have control over that, but you have control over your circle of influence. So focus on your bees. Instead, say, I will do it, I can do it, I can learn it. So put in the chat, I will focus on my circle of influence. Put, I will focus on B. IWFB. Write in the chat and say IWFB.
NWF.
I will focus on my B's. MC Love, over to you.
So the other end of the stick. Okay, I'm going to read something that jumped at me while I was reading this particular part of chapter one. It says the proactive approach to a mistake is to acknowledge it instantly, correct, and learn from it. This literally turns a failure into a success. Success. Imagine that you have the ability to turn any failure into a success. And what this is talking about is you choosing, it still boils down to the same thing, you making a choice. You making a choice to pick what to do. Okay, I have made a mistake in this area. What do I do? Do I sit down there and cry? Okay, I was in a relationship and my heart was broken. Do I stay there and cry and cry and cry and say, no, if this my boyfriend leaves me, I'm going to die? Is that what I want to do? No. Instead, what I want to do is, what happened? How did it happen? What can I learn from it? Where do I move from here? Because you had a life before that relationship came, right? So why not go back to that life? Focus on that. Build you. Become better, a better version of you. And I'm talking to both men and women. Focus on you. I've heard stories of people who do certain damages to themselves because of what happened in their relationships. That's not the best option. The other side of the stick, choose it. Choose which other side of the stick you want to be. Do you want to be on the end where you are reacting to things? Okay, because my father that is very wealthy and is sponsoring me through life just died, so I can never be amount to anything again in this life. Or you decide, okay, this has happened, I didn't plan for it. What next can I do? Do I need to get a job and maybe register for a part-time course instead of going to full-time university? All those are basically what this other side of the stick is talking about. Choose to either be proactive when you fall into a mistake or be reactive. The choice is yours. Thank you.
Yes, and for me, it's the other side of the stick just simply says for every decision that you make, there is an attendant consequence. So if you choose to be proactive, there are the consequences of being proactive. If you choose to
Mm,
be reactive, there are consequences of being reactive. And
reactive.
according to Stephen Covey, when we pick up one end of the stick, we pick up the other. So if you decide to be proactive, you pick the consequences of proactive people. If you decide to be reactive, you pick the consequences of reactive people. And according to him, this was striking. I had to take that down. He said, it is not what others do or even our own mistakes that hurt us the most. It is our response to those things. So you have to know that for whatever decision that you have taken as a proactive person, good or bad, there are consequences. And those consequences you cannot determine because those ones generate themselves according to your decisions. So that brings us to the 13th topic, making and keeping commitments. And according to Stephen Covey, the commitments we make to ourselves
Yes.
and to others and our integrity to those commitments is the essence and clearest manifestation of our proactivity. We can make a promise and keep it, or we can set a goal and work to achieve it. So, as a proactive person, you have to understand that you need to make commitments, and it doesn't end with you making commitments. You have to keep those commitments. He gave a perfect example. It's either you make a promise and say, don't worry, by tomorrow I'm going to deliver this job to you, and you keep it as a proactive person. Or you set a goal for yourself and say, you see, now I'm going to do this within the next 2 years. I'm going to do east, west, north, and south. And you make sure you keep that goal and promise or commitment you made to yourself. That is one of the hallmark of a proactive person. Today's habit is talking on proactivity. Be proactive. And one of the ways to be proactive is to make commitments and keep those commitments. So I, Nancy, today, I have decided that I will be committed to myself and committed to my goal. You can write in the chat, I will be committed to myself and committed to my goals. MC Love, if you have anything to say as regards this. You're muted. You're muted.
Sorry. So I think our time is fast spent. This is a good time for you to drop your questions in the comment section if you have one. Maybe one or two questions. If we have the time, we'll be able to take that. The last and not the final part of this book gives us something to act upon. One thing I love about Stephen Covey is the fact that he doesn't just tell you these are the things to do. He also shows you how you can do them. So he gives us this 30 days assignment. And he said for 30 days, just for 30 days, for the first 30 days of your life, beginning from today, can you focus only on your inner circle? That's the circle of influence, and smile about the circle of concerns. Dollar is 2,000 to a naira. Okay, smile about it
Yeah.
because you can't change it now. Is it from your room you want to start changing dollar? No. So Stephen Covey is encouraging us, you and myself and Nancy today, Wiser Nation. Stephen Covey is encouraging us to focus on our inner circle, which is the circle of influence. You can focus on going for trainings, like Nancy mentioned, improve on yourself, increase your values, build up principles that you can live by. Have a philosophy for your life. Tell yourself where you want to be. Have goals, have dreams, set goals. Focus on those goals and achieve them. Those are the things you can control. You can control waking up in the morning and drinking a cup or a bottle of water. You can control that because it's good for your body. You can control waking up and exercising. You have control over that. Maybe you're afraid due to security, you can't take long walks like our mama. But if you are in an environment where you know it is safe and it's conducive for you, take a walk. It's good. Why? Because it's helping your body. So focus on those things that you have control over. Choose
Yeah.
Choose today, choose today, choose today, choose today that you will only focus on the things that you can control and smile about the things you cannot. In the comment section, just say, I will smile about my circle of concerns and I would walk on my circle of influence. I want you to say that to yourself. You can say it audibly, you can write it down in your notebook, because in all we've been trying to say from the beginning of this video till now, we're just trying to tell you that you should choose to be proactive. And what does that mean? Make sure that your life is a product of your values, not your feelings. Ensure that your life is a product of your decisions, not your situations or your conditions. So that is the takeaway for me from this particular chapter. Thank you, Wiser. I hope you enjoyed today's edition. Over to you,
Thank you
Nancy.
very much. Thank you very, very much, MC Love. It has really been amazing co-hosting with you. For me, the summary of chapter one from the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey is simply be proactive. Focus on the things that you have control over. Being proactive means, first of all, changing your mindset, how you think, how you see life, how you react to people, how you react to situations, and how you work on yourself. And in summary, from the book, Stephen Covey says, don't get into blaming,
Mm,
accusing mode. Work on the things you have control over. Work on you. Work on yourself. That is what you have. You have control over yourself. You have control over your activities. Work on that. Focus on that. It's a focus on your be. For example, I can say I will focus on improving. I will focus on upscaling myself. How do I upscale myself? There are so many courses on Coursera. I will take free courses on Coursera to improve myself. I just lost my job, for example. What do I do now? What can I focus on? Am I going to focus on how terrible my boss is? Am I going to focus on how desolate I am? Am I going to say, oh, there is nothing more for me to do? Else to offer in this world? No, that is reactive. That is a person who focuses on being reactive. Instead, I will which is myself. I will focus on being. I will say, I will learn more courses. I will upskill. I will now learn that thing that I've been wanting to learn since that I've not had the time to do. That is what Stephen Covey is saying. He said, we are responsible for our own effectiveness. We are responsible for our own effectiveness. I want you to put it in the chat box quickly. I am responsible for my own effectiveness. We are studying the 7 habits of highly effective people. And the first habit today says, be proactive because I am responsible for my own effectiveness. He also continues by saying, for my own happiness, I am responsible. I am responsible for my
Mm,
happiness. I lost my job.
mm,
I can decide to say, oh, I'm sad, I'm desolate, nothing more is working for me. Or I can choose to say, I am happy. This is a good thing. What next? What can I take? What are my learning points from this? I am
mm,
responsible for my own happiness. So also write it in the chat box. I am responsible for my happiness. And then it says,
mm,
ultimately, I would say for most of our circumstances, we are also responsible. I am responsible for my
mm,
circumstances. Proactivity means act so that you don't get acted upon. Now I don't have a job. What do you have to do? Are you going to remain down or you are going to act? Are you going to wait for situations to come to you or you are going to go to those situations and happen to those situations? So I am also responsible for my circumstances. I am responsible for my effectiveness. I am responsible for my happiness. And I am responsible, at least to a large extent, for my circumstances. That is the hallmark of being proactive, focusing
mm.
on the things that you can change, your circle of influence, as against focusing on your circle of concern. If everything that I and MC Love have been saying since morning has made sense to you, please encourage us with MS on the chat. Just put
MS,
MS.
MS, MS, MS.
Thank you very much. I can't wait for chapter 2 because this is so profound. This is so
Yes,
amazing. I mean, learning from ourselves. I am a Wiserian. MC Love is a
yes,
Wiserian, and Wiserians are teaching Wiserians. So
yes,
this is
yes.
amazing. So I also want to use this medium to tell Coach JD, thank you so much for this amazing opportunity, giving us the ability and the opportunity to speak to ourselves. I've learned so much from MC Love. I will
And I've
join
learned from
you
you too.
next month. We're going to delve into chapter 2, and the subheading for chapter 2 says, begin with the end in mind.
And in mind.
If
Ah,
you want to
yeah.
get the best out of these discussions, you have to read it, please.
Mm-hmm.
Read it beforehand so that when the facilitators are talking, you are able to understand and you get moments of rema, aha moments. Like when
Mm,
MC Love was
mm-hmm.
saying something, like, I read it,
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes,
So
yes.
read beforehand so that when we come in next month, when we come in on the first Monday of the month of April, you will already have an idea and then it will blow your mind. So thank you very much, Wiser Nation, for once again
Thank
keeping
you.
it real. Thank you for engaging us in the
Thank
chat. We
you.
were there,
We've
we
seen
we
all your
had a
comments.
swell time. Tell MC Love,
Yes.
did you have a swell time?
I had a swell time teaching. I
If you
learned
have
again. While teaching, I
exactly.
learned again and again. I'm
I
super
mean,
excited.
a teacher learns twice,
Yes.
a teacher learns
Yes.
twice. If you have any question that you are not able to ask here, please, you can leave those questions on
On
the
the group.
WISER community page, the WISER 2023 page, and either I or MC Love will attend to the question when we see them. Thank you very much. See you next month for chapter 2. Begin with the end in mind. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Bye for
Thank
now.
you. Bye for now.